At the start of this story, a girl was showing something on her phone to someone, and it was an ice cream, and her friend just says that it looks like something that will make her gain weight, with a dead eyes. But someone was watching them, and he says that there is a problem that he have to deal with now, because he always nap at that bench during lunch. Afterwards he decides to kill some time by walking around, but all of the sudden she calls him, and asks him if it's his seat. And this shocked him since he wasn't expecting her to approach him, and she decides to get out of his seat, while her friend is asking her who he is. But she tells to her friend that she is really careless, since he the guy that always sleep at his desk, and he thinks that really hurts. And she blushingly looks at him saying, "Isn't that right?" But he just looked in another way. Afterwards he was being happy to just get his desk back, and all of the sudden the boys from his class points out that he talked with Natsukawa, while he was thinking all he did was talked with her few words, and he is already getting hate. Afterwards he started to think that he also wants to get close to her, since she is nice and kind to a guy like him. But then the boys from that class says that they really want to squeeze them, and they goes on by saying that Natsukawa essence is her butt, and they started to make a debate of what is better, while Kageyama was thinking it's really normal in the class to talk about her. Afterwards Natsukawa heard what they were talking, and she tells to them that's really gross, and those boys ran away. Afterwards Kageyama was thinking that even if there is a girl that will kind to nerds like him, but they wouldn't do it unconditionally. After she was little angry since they're just saying those stuff right in front of her face. And then her friend asks her if they can go bowling after school. And all of the sudden Kageyama gets a message. And it was from Natsukawa saying him to meet her at the karaoke after school. And he looks at her, and she was looking at Kageyama blushingly, while her friend is asking her if she is listening. And then Natsukawa asks her on what they were talking, while Kageyama was blushing. Afterwards she denies her friend's invitation, since she have work to do today, while Kageyama was thinking part-time job. And he thinks that she will probably ask him to give her that, since they will be alone at the karaoke, and karaoke after school. And both of them were standing closer to each other, while Kageyama was thinking it always comes to this. And she was breathing heavily telling him to take it out. And she comes closer to him saying that she can't hold back anymore. And she asks him if he is listening, while he was looking at something and was blushing. Afterwards he thinks that in a private room at a karaoke where nobody knows about their relationship. After that she says that it's itching her since last night. And she tells him to connect it faster. And she tells him to put it in. Afterwards Kageyama says it's really hard to put it in while they're standing like this, since it's his first time as well. And he goes on by thinking that whatever they are about to do is not praiseworthy in a karaoke. And he tells to her that he is going to connect it. And suddenly he increases the audio, and the speaker started to play a song. And Kageyama says that this is the song that she just requested. And he goes on by thinking that he made it for the upcoming Idols festival. And it even has a better intro, get the audience going into the vibe. Afterwards he tells to her that he even increased the song as per her request. And then he realizes that her eyes are all watery. After seeing her reaction he started to think whether if it turned out good or not, while she was just standing there silently standing. All of the sudden she says with a sparkling eyes that the song is so good. And he started to blush since she was holding his hands. Afterwards she started to jump saying that it's so incredible to listen, while he was thinking her vocabulary is also astonishing. After that she says if he is genius or something since he made a song like this in just a week. And he says, "Don't hold my hand," to her. And she tells to him that holding hands is actually okay. And then he asks her if she was listening him. But she just says that he made this song thinking about me, right? Which he denied in an instant. Afterwards Kageyama was thinking that it's too convenient for her, since his hard work is also nothing for her. And then she asks him she can dance to the song. And he tells her to dance. And he was relieved since he can finally sit down. And he realizes if she is going to dance with this small skirt. And then she started to dance. And she goes on by dancing for a long time. Afterwards, Kageyama realizes that she can actually dance like a pro. And also her pants. And he goes on by thinking that watching her dance is so lively. Afterwards, he realizes that it's so lively at somewhere. And he started to think why it's happening now. Since normally looking at something more bad than this itself makes him feel nothing. And he goes on by realizing if is it because they're in an enclosed area alone. After finished dancing, she asks him on how was her dance. And he just says that it was good. While thinking that's really an hassle to compliment her. And she was asking hi, that's really a cold reply. After a while she finished drinking her juice. Saying that she is feeling hot from all that dancing. Afterwards she orders 2 more juice. And Kageyama was saying that he haven't finished his drink yet. Afterwards she says that Kageyama is really good at making music. And she says that he is like a Van in a modern era. But then he says Van was a painter. After hearing it she says then you are like a Mozart. But this was also an random guy. Afterwards she says that she doesn't have an original song. So having him near her is really a huge help. But this shocked Kageyama. Since the conversation just got serious. Afterwards she thanks him by hugging his hands. Afterwards he thinks that his hands are getting sucked in. And he realizes that there is a sweet smell near her. And he says smell. After hearing that was shocked and says do I smell, I'm sorry. And Kageyama was shocked and started to think why she is reacting different than usual. And she was just sitting there silently while blushing. Afterwards she started to say that it must be from the sweat. Since she danced before this. And the Kageyama says that it's not that she smelled bad. But she actually smelled good. And hearing she started to tell him if he is into that type of fetish thing. Afterwards she decides to move away since she might actually be sweaty. And suddenly she dropped the glass of juice. Which actually spilled on Kageyama. And she was really shocked. And then she tells him that she will wipe it out. While he was thinking that this is really worst. And suddenly he says that if she touches him there it will be really bad. After that he says that he will wipe it out by himself. And all of the sudden the juice they ordered has arrived. And that waitress was happy for him. While Kageyama is trying to explain what really happened. The next day, Natsukawa was inviting Kageyama to her house. Saying that she wants him to see her new outfit. But Kageyama just says that he isn't interested on seeing her costume. And she started to run away by saying that she will give him her address later. But Kageyama was shocked since she really just ignored his words. And after school he arrives at her house. After coming in she says that her mom stayed behind and wanted to see him. After hearing about his arrival. After hearing it Kageyama started to think if her mom will also be like her. After coming in her mom introduced herself. And he realized that she does look like Natsukawa. And then Kageyama also introduced himself. And then she started to poke his cheek while saying so you're the guy that I heard about. While he was thinking it's going to get bad. Afterwards she grabbed his hands and started to say that his songs are really good. Even though he is looking cute. While he was thinking it's such an hassle. And all of the sudden Natsukawa steps in and blocks her mother by saying Kageyama is getting uncomfortable. While he was thinking that she is always doing this to him. Afterwards she goes on by inviting him to see a movie with her and her mother. But Kageyama swiftly says that he will leave, right after looking at her new outfit. But she just dropped a big O. After hearing it he realizes that she is also an hassle. And suddenly her mother puts her hands on him saying it's just for a while so let's watch. And Kageyama just wanted to go home. And in the end he decides to watch it. Since he is being outnumbered. And he looks at Natsukawa. She just grabs his hands. While he was saying it's just for a while, okay. And then she tells him to sit on the couch. And Natsukawa left to make a drink for everyone. And Kageyama was thinking that he can finally relax. And all of the sudden both of them sits besides him making him in the middle. And he looks at her face blushingly. And he looks at her mother blushingly. And in the end he gets up and says he can't really relax. But then Natsukawa just says that this place is so great that he can't relax. After a while she was having fun jumping around while watching the movie. And she says that this visual are really great, right? But Kageyama was thinking that he really can't understand what is she even yapping about. And he looks at her blushingly. And he thinks, when Natsukawa is talking about idols she seems a little happy. But before he could finish thinking it, her mother comes in, which shocked Kageyama. And she says that she is always like this. But recently she is being so much happy. But this made Kageyama curious, since he also started to talk to her recently. And he looks at her mother, but she just looked away. And her mother goes on by saying that not a while ago where things were going really bad for her. And she says it was 1 year before she became an idol, which is she will travel 1 hour for dance classes. And for some days she will come home exhausted, barely able to walk. And she was asking her mother to massage her feet. But whenever her live show was tomorrow, she will always be more excited. But she never were able to get new fans. And all the fans that came to see her is just silently watching, while other idols make them dance. And those days went for like 6 months. And even for a positive girl like her got it with a reality check. And she was crying, hugging her mom, saying that she wants to quit being an idol. And she says that Natsukawa never gave up. And her fans have been increasing lately. And also she is getting new songs from him. And this made him shocked. And he got annoyed since her dress is really distracting. Even though it's a nice story, she just said. And she goes on by telling him to take care of her. But Kageyama just says that hurts auntie. This made her angry. And goes on by grabbing his shirt. And Kageyama was terrified. And she tells him to call her by her name. But he still says that he is suffocating, so leave me alone, auntie. And hearing that she says auntie is forbidden to say, which he accepts. And finally Natsukawa took notice on what they were doing. And finally he was happy to come to her room, since he can now leave after checking her dress. And she asks him if he likes her room. But he just says it's normal. And looks around nervously. And she starts to mock him by saying if this is his first time entering girl's room. And he goes on by thinking it is his first time. And he doesn't know where to sit. And she tells him to sit at anywhere. And asks him if he wants to sit at the bed. And he decides to sit on the floor. And something hits on his hands. And he started to wonder on what it might be. And he realizes that it's not a mic. And Natsukawa notices it. But then Kageyama thinks maybe he touched something that he shouldn't have touched. And she says that it's a massager. And she goes on by saying that it's being trending with the influencers. And Kageyama was relieved to find out that it's not something for shady things. Afterwards she asks him to do it on her legs. But he denies it outright. But she still insisted on him to do it. And in the end Kageyama agrees, saying that he is doing it only because he heard the story from her mom. And he asks her if he is going to do it for only for the legs. Which shocked her. And she asks him on why he is obeying her all of the sudden. After a while he thinks that there is a girl on the bed. And he is holding a massager. And he thinks this already looks like adult manga plot. And she looks back. And tells him to not to take a look at her skirt. If he does she will really freak out. And she even says that he won't do it. But he just thinks she wears short skirt anyway, so what's big deal? And Kageyama was breaking too much of sweat. And he decides to press it against her. And he turns it on. And he started with her calves. But then she gave a huge moan. And he shouts at her, saying her to not make weird noise. But she just says it feels good when someone else does it for her. And he thinks if it's okay to do it on thighs as well. And after a while she says it really feels good. Afterwards she says he is really a lifesaver. But then while he was thinking that his hands got sweating. And he dropped it. And it landed on her butt. And she made a huge sound. And he was just sitting there shocked. And Natsukawa was thinking that she really made a huge noise. And then he says that he will move it. But her mother comes in saying that she heard a loud noise. But after seeing the situation, she gave a thumbs up. And she goes on by saying that Kageyama is surprisingly assertive. And in the end they decided Kageyama to be her personal composer. And he shouts, "Isn't he supposed to see her outfit?"